Ugh, bruh. I'm cooked. So injury prone, you'd think I'm fucking AD, bro. Anthony Davis, if anyone was wondering or didn't know. I wanted to expand on something that I posted on Instagram and TikTok, and that is that motivation is fucking bullshit. First off, I actually wanted to clear up real quick that none of these videos I do are with the intention of telling you how to live your life. Whether you listen to me or you don't, like, that's completely up to you, and I don't really, not that I don't care, like, of course, everything I say is to better, like, improve yourself and whatever, so obviously, I don't not care, but I'm saying I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, like, I'm not sitting here saying you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm simply just sharing my knowledge, sharing what I learned through certain experiences in my life, and with the hopes of helping someone. So, if you choose to take it on board, then great. If you don't, well, then that's fine, So now that's out of the way. Motivation is like, it's an excuse to be lazy, I feel like motivation is just, like I said, it's an excuse to just not do what you need to do. You can't, like, people always need to, like, rely on motivation. I have no motivation to go to the gym. That's just an excuse to not go to the gym. Like, motivation is bullshit. If you need motivation to do anything in your life, then you just don't want it. Like, you may as well not do it, because it just means you don't want it bad enough. Like, if you truly want something, you don't need motivation. You don't need, like, I'm not saying motivation is bad at all. Like, of course, extended motivation, as in, say you're at the gym and then you listen to some maybe like motivational shit to just get you going even more. Completely, motivation is good, but I'm saying it's not, you can't base your whole life off motivation. Like, it's an addition. It's like a topping. When you go to Yochi and you get the yogurt, and then all the toppings, that is the motivation. Motivation is just an addition. It's not, you shouldn't be basing your life off motivation. I used to always rely on motivation. I used to be, I was once a pretty fat and lazy person. Back in like 2024 and there, I was out of shape. I was lazy. I relied on motivation because I just didn't want, like, I needed, like, I need motivation to go to the gym. I need motivation to do this. I just didn't want to do it. I just didn't want it, And so, like I said, you can't rely on motivation. You need to set a system. And also a part of it is self-respect. Self-respect is a big part of, doing what you need to do. You don't need motivation. You need some self-respect. Like, if you set out to go to the gym, like I said, you shouldn't need motivation to go to the gym. You should just respect yourself enough to respect your word. If you say, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week, don't use motivation as an excuse. Oh, I didn't go on Monday because I was not motivated. Nah, fuck that. Have some respect for yourself. If you respect yourself enough, you will act accordingly. You will go to the gym because you respect yourself and you want to get healthy. And you respect your word. Your word is, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week. Respect your word. Respect yourself, and you will then act accordingly. Motivation, like I said, it's just an excuse to be lazy. Like, that's such I hear it so much, like, oh, I didn't go because I didn't have any motivation. You just don't want it bad enough, obviously. Like I said, if you need motivation for something, just don't do it, because you're just pretty much forcing yourself to do it. You need to gain a level of self-respect, because that doesn't go away. Motivation, like I said, comes and goes. Like, I'm not motivated at all every day to do stuff. I have a routine that I do every day. For me, like, the gym's a bit different because I'm, like, obsessed, and like, I just like I find it like near impossible to have a rest day. So, you know, a bit different for me personally. But, you know, I've set a level of self-respect for myself. I respect myself to the point where if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I don't rely on motivation. Because motivation, like I said, you're not always gonna be motivated. I'm not always motivated to do what I need to do what I want to do. But I have respect for myself, and so I act upon that. And, you know, I do what I need to do because I respect my word, what I set out to do, and I respect myself to achieve what I want to achieve. Like, even for the gym, you know, like I'm not always, like I said, of course, like I said, I'm obsessed and I love it so much, but there's always days where I'm like, fuck, bro, like I'm pretty tired, I'm pretty sore. But I have, like I said, a level of respect for myself that I have acquired. I won't say acquired is the right word. Gained, maybe? Gained, I'd say gained. That, you know, allows me to act in the way I need to act because I respect what I set out to do. I respect what I said I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. That is respecting yourself. And so, yeah, so the point, like, you know, the point is that motivation is just, it's bullshit. It's nothing more than, it's just all in your head, you know. You can't rely on motivation. Motivation isn't consistent either. You know, like, sure, you can be motivated for a week to do something, but what happens after that week when the motivation runs out? Well, then you're probably going to stop what you're doing. And so that is why self-respect is something that doesn't go away. And setting a system, you know, just have a system, and, you know, yeah, just have respect for yourself. Like I said, when I didn't have any respect for myself, I didn't, back when I didn't respect myself and, you know, all these other things, I only relied on motivation. I'd only be able to go to the gym if I was motivated. And like I said, that's just not consistent. And it just doesn't work, you know? But once I finally gain some respect for myself, and you gain respect for yourself through actually acting upon what you do, you know? Like I said, if you say you're gonna do something, then do it. That's respecting yourself. And if you say, you know, you don't need motivation, you just need some self-respect and some discipline. You know, discipline, I don't really believe in discipline. You know, I don't really believe in, you know, I say discipline because, of course, discipline is a big factor. But my definition of discipline is a lot different to the, you know, to the standard, like, be disciplined. Discipline, you know, it's not forcing yourself to do shit. It's just keeping a promise to yourself. That's my definition of discipline. You know, everyone thinks and says discipline is, you know, like, just have some discipline, just do it. And that is, you know, forcing yourself to do what you want to do. Like, have some discipline to go to the gym. That's forcing yourself, you know. It's not to force yourself to do shit. It's just to keep a promise to yourself. Being disciplined, in my eyes, is keeping a promise to yourself and respecting what you say. You know, respecting yourself. Having enough respect to say something and then act on it. You know? Like I said 50 million times in the video, respect yourself. Like, if you set out to do something and you don't do it, that is disrespecting yourself, your own self, and that is crazy, bro. Like, you know, of course, respect others and, you know, be nice and kind to others, but, you know, people neglect themselves as if they're not, you know, as if they don't need to respect themselves as well, even more than other people. You know, and self-respect ties into so many aspects of life, like, more than motivation and discipline. self-respect ties into, you know, even to the extent of relationships and, you know, that kind of nature. I'm not going to get into all that because that's not the topic. But you know, self-respect is just such a big part of, you know, being able to become better, become the best version of yourself. Because like I've said in other videos, your self-image is the catalyst for your actions. And you know, same goes with the respect. Your respect, the level of respect you have for yourself will dictate your actions. It will dictate how you act accordingly to the level of respect you have for yourself, you know? Like if you have respect for yourself and you set out, I'm gonna go to the gym this day, that day. If you actually respect yourself, you will do it. The level of respect you have for yourself will show through your actions, you know? On the contrary, like I said, it will show through your actions. So if you say you're gonna do this, that, and that, and that, and then you don't do it, well, then that also shows the level of respect you have for yourself. So, yeah, that's all. I hope that all makes sense. But the point is, just don't rely on motivation. I really need I like tying it to myself just because, like, just so it shows that I'm not just like blindly talking about this, because, you know, I actually have first-hand experience and understanding of it. Like I said, and maybe I'll go into a bit more depth just so you can understand. You know, I was back in 2024. I was around 18. I was 90 kilos, and it was not muscle. It was straight fat. And you know, I would say to myself, oh yeah, like, for one, I'd rely on motivation always, and for two, I would always say to myself, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, that, and that. I'm gonna start this, that, and that. Never do it. And that showed the level of respect I had for myself. It was none, because anytime I would set out to do something, or I told myself I would do something, I wouldn't do it. So that just shows that I had no respect for myself. I had no respect for my word. Once I started respecting myself, I started acting upon what I said and what I set out to do. That is when I saw progress in myself. I lost I went from 90 kilos to 70 kilos in like probably between November 2024 till like February. Yeah, around February 2025, I went from 90 kilos to 70 kilos. And you know, there's other, like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like it was completely, you know, just my self-respect, you know, like, that was when I was going through a very, very bad time, and so, you know, I wasn't really eating much. But nevertheless, the point still stands. I respected myself. I gained a level of respect for myself to actually act upon what I set out to do, and effectively it worked. I lost 20 kilos. So yeah, and you know, like, that's what I mean. Like, back then, like back when I was like fat and, you know, relied on motivation, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and that, and then I wouldn't do it, and then I'd do it again next week. Okay, that, and that, wouldn't do it. I was like, okay, I'll start next week, Monday, never do it. I had no respect for myself. I had no respect for my word, for what I set out to do. Nothing. And it showed. You know, it showed through my physique, it showed through my actions, it showed through everything. So yeah, I hope that all made sense. Just the point is that motivation comes and goes. Don't rely on it. Just have a system. Stick to a system and just, you know, keep going at it, and gain a respect for yourself that is stronger than any need for motivation, because then that is when you will be able to do anything, you know. That is when you respect yourself, like I said, you will then act upon what you set out to do. And so, yeah, fuck motivation. You don't need motivation. It is just, like I said, a little addition. Just think of it as, like I said, going to Yochi and putting the toppings on. It's just a little extra. You don't. It's not the, you know, it's not. You shouldn't. It's not the yogurt. It's not the main. It's not the base. It's not the core. It's just a little extra. So yeah. Hell yeah. Like I said a million times, I'm sorry if I repeat myself through these videos. I just, you know, I'm such a perfectionist, and I just want to always, like, my mind's always flowing, and I always like think about more and more, and I'm like, fuck, like, let me say that as well. So I'm sorry if I repeat myself. I hope that all made sense. It is now time for me to go for a walk, get my steps up, and yeah, I don't know, check back in whenever the second episode of Becoming will be coming out soon. Yeah, so I think, actually, real quick, I think I've decided for those that I'm still, of course, going to be doing the Becoming episodes, so they will be more brand based, you know, all things to do with brand. And then I'll just keep doing videos how I usually, like this, because I just love doing this, and I'll just post whenever. So yeah, anyway, alright, I'm off.